So hello everyone. Nice to see all of your PFPs, your faces. Welcome to the August Oath Town Hall. So these are events that happen, roughly every 6 weeks, where we present updates, announcements, reflections on the Oath ecosystem and the protocols within. If any of you are curious about the recordings of past town halls, you can find them in the Oath Resources channel. There's a dedicated post to past town hall recordings. This one will also be recorded. And if you look at the stage, you can see I'm sharing a presentation. So we'll just be working through that as we go through orally as well. So thank you all for coming, especially with the ominous timing of the market. We appreciate you all being here. And very weird timing. But we forge onwards, as always. So I'm going to kick it off with the first slide here. And it is about the Oath token migration. So as most of you are probably aware, multi-chain has undergone some pretty catastrophic events as of late. And now, unfortunately, multi-chain was the primary bridge for Oath. Luckily, Oath was a mint burn asset, so the Oath bridge through multi-chain was unaffected. But we have been without a bridge for some time now, and due to the multi-chain incident, we've had to we've been forced to launch a new token to which the token holders must migrate. So yesterday, the migration plan, which I will show here as a bit of a summary. The plan was completed and implemented, and you can now migrate your Oath to the new Oath, which is denoted Oath v2. And the graphic designers at the Oath Foundation did an amazing job. I really like the red and green dots; makes it super clear. So on your favorite decks, you will see these symbols, and it should be denoted with V1 and V2 as well to make it extra crystal. Okay, so here are the details of the migration. If you're looking at the slide, I'm just going to summarize the points here. Oath on Phantom is canonical Oath. So if you have Oath on Phantom, you do not need to do anything. That's the first thing.
And bridges work out of the box, so you can just go to Squid Router and bridge your Oath, no problem.
Yes. So for the other chains, you will need to migrate your Oath. Now, Optimism is a bit of a special case. Because of the immutability of Ethos, B Oath requires Oath v1 until the Ethos v2 upgrade happens. So on Optimism, the migration tool, the wrapper, it goes both ways. So you can swap between v1 Oath and v2 Oath on Optimism. On every other chain, you can only go from v1 to v2 Oath.
And keep in mind,
I have another
that
slide here.
The migration is a two-sided operation. So you'll see on Optimism the amount of Oath v1 in the contract, and there needs to be enough Oath v1 for you to bridge the other way. And this was a security decision. So it's not like Infiniment. So if you have any problems, you may need to wait for liquidity on the other side of the contract.
Right. Yeah. Good point. So, guys, Samson posted the Oath Migration Guide, which is the article detailing everything you need to know in the event chat. It is also in Oath Resources. There's a post about the migration, and you'll find everything you need there. Bebis made a nice video with him doing the migration live, so you can check that out as well. But there should be everything you need to make it a smooth process. And so Oath, as Bebis just mentioned, can also be bridged now. There are two bridges. They're powered by Axelar. So the first one's Squid, which you'll probably be familiar with because of Earn. So the Squid bridge and also the Satellite.money bridge, which are, like I said, both powered by Axelar. You can now bridge your oath around and, enter your favorite pool. So yeah, it's been some time coming. I will say that it was a lot of work for people who aren't me. The people in the foundation did a lot of work on this, and they went to hell and back to get this up and running. So just thanks to the rest of the team that did work on that. Is there anything I missed here? Samson, do you want to add any color to what I said?
I think it's been pretty well covered. I guess just we can move to the liquidity. I'll sort of speak more to it at the liquidity part of the presentation. So that might be coming up next. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Transition. So the majority of future Oath market incentives are now going to be compressed to optimism. And so what that means is if you're wanting to hold Oath and earn yield, the best place to do so will be on optimism. Bonded Oath is going to be one of the primary incentive drivers, but otherwise, we also are going to be establishing a velodrome pool with Oath v2 in Ethereum so that both Oath tokens are actually available to be purchased off the market. And you'll still see Oath pools around DeFi and all the various exchanges where we have NFTs, especially. And we'll be using a small portion of the NFT to perpetually vote for the pool to facilitate small market opportunities or opportunities for users that are taking Oath through bribes on those exchanges to actually be able to sell them right there as opposed to having to bridge it. So that's mainly a UX experience. We didn't want smaller users to be kind of turned off from Oath from that experience. So we're going to still have small Oath pools around, but for the best trading experience, all users should just head to Optimism, and then they can bridge from Optimism using Squid and get a one-to-one on whatever chain they're going to. So the name of the game, and we've been sort of preaching this for a couple months, is import Oath to Optimism, sort of focus a lot of mass there and start rebuilding our liquidity base and export ERN as much as possible. The more ERN we can get minted, the more utility and value being driven to the Bonded Oath token. And with Digit imminent, that should also be another sort of yield source for Oath in the near term. So just wanted to touch on these changes to Oath liquidity and invite everyone to come to Optimism and give it a go if you haven't already. And with this migration, I mean, a lot of work is still ongoing with the partner exchanges, getting them to create new pools to support Oath. We have heard the feedback about short-term incentives. We are, doing our best to balance performance, experimentation, finding new markets, and especially with how volatile the market can be, sometimes it makes sense to just cut a bad deal or to stop something early. And as we continue to iterate and develop through Ethos's roadmap, there become better opportunities than were once available. So it's just a matter of taking those steps and being flexible. I know it's not the perfect situation for long-term. Earn is not the perfect long-term asset yet, but the changes that we are making will get it in that direction. So we're consolidating to basically focus entirely on earn and staked earn. With staked earn on the horizon, we can essentially have a pool composed of 100% ERN. And, we want to basically leverage our library of emissions with Thena, with Retro on Polygon, with the Ramses and even Kronos team on Arbitrum, to bring earn and staked earn to these markets. And we will only incentivize the co-bribing pools. So think, collaborating with someone like Frax or a protocol like Overnight Finance or Cash is a good example on Polygon, and using those tokens to be the gateway out of ERN. And with that, we're also increasing the fees on all ERN pools to try and, while Earn is trading over, it was $1.04 earlier in the week. Now it's, I think, around $1.02. But it's ranging at this overpegged price. And so while in this condition, it makes sense to take a higher fee so that we can generate more sustainable yields. And once we actually get the scale that we need, start to taper it back. Once Earn is sufficiently marketed and actually trading at $1, we can go for those really low slippage trades. But at the moment, everyone's already taking a hit if they're trading in, or a possible hit. So we see that as an opportunity to actually, cut some spending, pass the fee along to the ARB, either the ARB bot or the trader that's looking to profit between these markets, or otherwise wanting to pay the premium to secure their assets in ERN. So, we see these changes as really necessary. They are painful. So on Ramses, for example, we're moving from 0.05% fees to 0.3% fees. We've been experimenting with this on Velodrome, and it has been quite successful. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing how these changes can stimulate the market and hopefully create a situation where when we are emitting, it's hyper efficient for Ethos growth. And once we break through that 15 mil TVL barrier, we get double the OP incentives that we were getting from under 15 mil, which I believe is $20,000 of OP per month. So it'll jump up to 40,000. And I'll go find the article which has a chart showing you the immense growth opportunities once we can start tapping in and breaking these TVL milestones. So we really can't understate how important the ST-ERN liquidity pool is going to be for growth. And it should make bonded oath quite yielding quite high, while the mint fees will be sort of rolling in all this new earn that has to sort of come fill the market and dilute those yields. Hopefully that's the plan, at least.
Yeah, I guess maybe to add a little bit of color here. Essentially, with the dawn of our Stern strategy, our ST earn, what we're going to see is more than double the ERN being pushed into the market at these similar rates of yield. And beyond that, these pools are going to get a lot less risky, because you're not having to worry about the downside potential of ERN, because it's an ERN pool. And the result of this will be much greater marketability to professional liquidity providers. And then overall, with how we're structuring fees, we're pushing more and more of that value toward the LP side. And we've been saying it for quite some time, but the Ethos Reserve Note and now by extension ST Earn or Staked Earn or Stern, we need to kind of come to a community consensus as to what we're going to call it. But we're creating a financial instrument, basically, or a crypto financial instrument for people to gain access to this basket of yield underlying through Earn. So, with that, in addition to the partnership with Yearn Finance that hopefully will be passed soon via governance, and definitely check out forum.oath.eco to check out their proposal. We think we're going to be able to come to market with a really, really compelling solution for market makers and everybody. And in every ERN, STERN pool, you'll be getting the yield as well on the counter asset with Stern. So extremely cool. I think this is going to be a huge step in the next direction. And if you look at the chart that Charles just provided, getting past that 15 million mark, getting the battle testing, really pushed to the next level, we're going to be able to start scaling those OP incentives alongside our oath. And if you look at that chart, the rewards in oath and the oath investment or the token incentive type investment that we're issuing for ERN is already at that second tranche and beyond. So of course we keep recapture a lot of that through our VE NFTs, but that'll kind of give you an idea of our short-term growth strategy, getting ERN in the hands of users, getting the ecosystem more efficient overall, and just continuing our kind of methodical, mathematical approach to market penetration. And I guess, what I would ask of you in the audience is to definitely try to get, the people in your social circles, group chats, whatever, familiar with the concept of ERN and comfortable with the concept of these earned Stern pools as a very low risk way to get the best stable asset yield in the industry, because we're definitely going to need help filling these out over the next few weeks.
Phantom 2 vibes. Definitely not, Samson. Yeah. I was just going to add, I guess, to kind of summarize. But what I was thinking about recently is, of course, how dope STERN is as an asset. But the approach to this approach to a CDP where you're funneling the yield into a stable asset and having that exported, it comes with a greater challenge of scaling right off the bat because the demand for yield is so high, and that's why the price range goes from 1 and 2 cents to 1 and 4 cents, is because that yield is being funneling through the stablecoin, and people want to get their hands on it, and they want to buy it off the market, and etc. So there are sort of different approaches that CDP protocols can take, and they each present their own kind of challenges. But I don't know. I think Ethos, and with a product like STERN, it's like insane. I don't know. It's just like once you can get past that initial growth stage, then you have just like an insanely cool asset that's composable across DeFi that gives you access to this yield, and then eventually you don't have to pay a premium for it. So yeah,
very nice.
I guess
I'll wrap and like sort of tie these two ideas together. These new pools will also feature the new Oath v2. So while there isn't any immediate incentive to migrate Oath right now, by this time next week there should be. So we expect a lot of the actual migration to occur in the following week, and then we'll be able to sort of start to gauge the success. Once there is an incentive, we do recommend that you do migrate. The sooner we can get this behind us, the better. And it would be nice to, once all Oath is migrated, turn off these contracts, and they'll be available through the Discord in the future if you need. We'll have a ticket that you can submit if you are, holding old Oath and the migration contract isn't there. Do try reach out so that we can see what solutions we can come up with. But yeah, it's exciting times, and greatly appreciate everyone's work behind the scenes to make this happen. And Love the red dot and the green dot as well. It is very classic. Good design.
Yeah. I was saying earlier, I mean, I was expecting a lot more questions in the Discord, and I think, the like it seems like everybody's been pretty clear on it, and I think that is a testament to how well it was designed, the migration process. So nice. Okay, so should we move on to some Ethos Reserve updates? Justin, I think you've got a little bit to say on this front. I guess I'll kick it to you.
I think most of this, well, I'll save some for the Stern and Ethos V2 slides, unless those are following this one. But oh, well, there we go. So we already gave you some Stern updates about Stern. But this has been it's evolved into quite a massive engineering process, with our commitment to turn this into a super duper hard asset. And so we just finished our second follow-up audit with the Trust security team, who are, well, the founder of it, Trust himself, who's a really prolific auditor. And we've been working with him quite a while. And, the team's been going really, really hard, testing it, making sure it's perfect. So the bridge is live right now via Axelar as well. And the Stern Vault is already on Reaper Alpha if you haven't been messing around with it. But the goal is to pretty much as soon as possible uncap it and move it over to Reaper. And then we're going to start migrating incentives on all of these chains with our VE NFTs to earn Stern. And again, I'll hammer this point home with the RN above peg. There are some risks to the pool being, if it goes back to $1, some arbitrager will take, 3-4% of your ERN away, which for the whole pool will probably mean, a 1 to 3% principal loss, which when you're in the stablecoin game really freaking sucks. And then beyond that, because of the really high amplitudes of these stable swap pools in Velodrome forks, solidly forks, whatever, it's really only 20-30% ERN in the pool, especially with some of these assets that are under peg that we're paired with, like your DOLAs, for example, or your MIs. We're collaborating with them, but we're kind of not getting the fairest end of the deal, which is fine and to be expected. These are growing pains. But now that we have the power of the earn Stern pool, anybody on any chain can access stability pool rewards, which is extremely dope. And then one step beyond that, these pools will be much less risky. They'll have way more ERN in them comparatively for the same amount of yield. And you all can enjoy them quite a bit, hopefully. And definitely tell your friends and help us dilute that yield. And then beyond that, Ethos V2. So I was working on getting a double blind audit set up for late September with some of the auditors in our network. So, really what we'll see with Ethos V2 is more collateral types and some flexibility when adding collateral types. Like right now, Ethos Reserve is mostly immutable, and we're going to add mutability in some places where it's convenient, like adding new collateral types, and then make some of the asset management even more immutable, which is very cool. And then beyond that, it'll feature one-click leverage tooling, which has been kind of a beast of an engineering project, but will allow you to use Ethos Reserve as a really powerful instrument for creating leverage, which is awesome. And beyond that, we're going to be introducing hooks to the code base. which is, I think, something we've come to expect since the reliquary days. It generally gives us a ton of power in a really secure package. But essentially what's going to be happening is by introducing hooks, by introducing this leverage tooling, which can be upgraded over time without affecting the security of the core code base, we're going to be able to basically add peripheral functionality to Ethos Reserve indefinitely. So we're going to be able to add a lot of cool new incentives. We're going to be able to add a lot of cool new functionality. And that's, I think the most exciting thing to me, because Ethos v2 and Ethos v3, for example, can be, or we can migrate to an Ethos v3 platform without necessarily needing to redeploy, because we'll have these hooks and we'll have these new ways to interact with the system. And then beyond that, a security engineer in our network has actually been working with us on improving the security of the core Liquidity architecture. So we've been, doing a lot of work on figuring out how to improve Liquidity, and working with other folks working on the Liquidity platform to do that. So we should see overall a tighter system. We should see a more consistent pay. We should see more reality. And that, we're going to be optimizing for Liquidity partnerships. So, they're in relationship, we've been touting, trying to sell you all in the forums, creating for them to use those reserve in their strategies, creating ways for us to create structured products through Reaper using these hooks and using this functionality we're going to be adding. And overall, just fleshing out the ecosystem, and is a really powerful tool. And we're kind of focused on getting Ethos Reserve v2 out before we start expanding horizontally, because that's really where a lot of the flexibility is going to come. So keep an eye out for that. We want to push it out early October. The changes we're making aren't like the Ethos v1 changes. We're not like totally, reworking every aspect of the code base, and we don't need to spend hundreds of thousands on audits. But we are going to be taking our time in the time and making sure working with talented security engineers to get to market. So yeah, an extremely open improvement, and the migration will be relatively seamless. Ethos v1 and v2 will coexist using the same ERN token. You won't be able to take out new loans on Ethos Reserve v1 once we migrate, but you will be able to keep your positions open. You'll be able to pay down your loans, and we'll still be streaming some incentives to the stability pool, just so that we can get people liquidated safely. But yeah, overall, should be extremely dope and painless. And yeah, maybe in the tokenomics section, we'll discuss what happens after Ethos v2.
Yes, and with Ethos v2, Both will have Oath v2, by the way, which will, by that point, just be Oath, hopefully.
Yeah.
Small side note.
It will reduce a lot of the confusion, luckily.
Amazing. Insanely epic indeed.
Yes.
Okay, so I did want to ask, actually, when you were talking about the hooks, I was thinking about like the OP stack and how with the Bedrock upgrade, you can they've got these like layers of the stack, and you can kind of just, you can slot in any sort of optimized feature, or like any sort of, I don't know what the word is, any like tranche of it, you can kind of rewrite and slot it in and have it work with the the top and the bottom stack.
The word is module.
Module, thank you. Tranche. I'm coming from a financial place.
But yeah, somewhat similar. We're essentially allowing plugins / extensions. I guess I mean, the word is we're allowing hooks, but it will allow us to kind of extend the functionality of Ethos without having to mess with the core code base. Because, the idea is with Ethos v2, we'll have solved all of the problems we identified via backtesting and analysis and, working on the platform. And we won't need to touch it ever again at that point. And it could be sort of like a die situation where, we just build cool new functionality on top of ERN, on top of the platform, and just ensure that we have the tools necessary to do so without compromising the core security model.
Extension packs. That's what they are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to move on to governance. Now, unfortunately, AS is a little bit under the weather. So everybody give AS your warmest vibes and thoughts and wish him a speedy recovery. But I'm going to try and do my best to do right by the governance genius that is CryptoAS. So guys, a couple weeks ago, the Oath governance specifications were ratified. So this was a vote that was passed with almost 100% of the votes for. So these specifications, which you can find on forum.oath.eco. For anyone new in the ecosystem, I very, very much recommend you read them. So these specifications are the framework for all of governance, and they're going to lay the groundwork for the coming months for Oath governance. Now, they're subject to change, but only through another proposal that makes sense. So again, if you haven't read the specifications, I believe, I'm assuming most people here have, but anyone listening in the future, please go read the specs and check out the new proposals, which is the next slide. Ba-bam. So there have been several proposals over the last couple weeks that have been submitted since the ratification. And they're all very exciting. And so again, go to forum.oath.eco and read the proposals and offer your thoughts and, get involved with governance. I'm going to go to my grave saying this over and over again, but please get involved. So yeah, a couple marketing proposals, Drake on Digital, if anyone's familiar, Aspenth, who is a community member, submitted a proposal for some branded videos. Chainalysis is a really exciting one, and maybe Samson or Bebis wants to talk about the Chainalysis or the Urn proposals a little bit more, but you can see here, to fortify Ethos Reserve's infrastructure against the threat of hacks and exploits, which we're all unfortunately familiar with. Personally, I've been following Chainalysis, or I've been privy to their work, and they work with some really, really reputable people, teams, and this is just like I don't know. I think it's a really, really good step forward for in the security and the risk mitigation departments. The Urn proposal is another really exciting one. Yeah, please jump in if you got something.
Well, maybe I'll save my commentary just for time's sake on Chainalysis and Urn for the governance. I think there's going to be a governance town hall type thing before votes go up, right?
Indeed, yes. I forgot to put that note in the slides, but I was going to say that I'm organizing some AMAs with people who propose, who submit proposals, especially if they're for really long terms, or they're more on the costly side. We can organize AMMs with those submitting the proposals, and we can just ask them a bunch of live questions and they can give us just a lot
AMMs
more
and
detail.
tranches, bro. Your
AMAs.
your brain is all DeFi.
Oh yeah, sorry guys.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
AMAs.
save my commentary for them. Maybe we can combine everybody into a single uh, uh, governance meeting. That would be kind of cool. Get Evan from Chainalysis and Corn from Yearn into one call and see what happens. That's kind of two ends of the spectrum: the glowy side that we dabble in, and the pure like hardcore decentralized side. Um, but yeah, that'll be fun. And I have a lot to say about Chainalysis. A lot of good things to say. We've been working with them for quite some time, and you can probably assume how I feel about Yearn as well. But in the meantime, check out the forums, get educated, and get up to speed before that next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm just going to pop this up there quickly and just give a couple thoughts. I've said this before many times and like 2 minutes ago, but if you guys have ideas for marketing, for protocol integrations, for biz dev opportunities, whatever you can think of, just don't hesitate to reach out either to a GPRC member, to another Oath community member, or just go straight and, like, if you're feeling really confident about it, write a proposal and submit it, because there is really no harm, and that's where the discussion is going to happen. And yeah, I would like to say I want to thank a couple people who have done that recently. Reached out to me and started a discussion about, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? I'm thinking about a proposal, and yeah, so I just want to thank those couple people for doing that. And I've given them serious consideration, and I'll be keeping them in mind and thinking about how we can successfully implement your ideas. So thank you, folks. Okay, so this is probably a question that a couple of you have with the Oath migration and with governance. Here are the details there. So the voting tokens, it's going to be all forms of Oath. The voting chains is a little bit of a change. So we are proposing just 3 chains for Oath, and this coincides with our efforts to concentrate Oath liquidity around Optimism, but Arbitrum, Phantom, and Optimism combined have most of the Oath liquidity. So these are the voting chains that will likely be implemented. AS, if you've got any, I can't really see the chat right now, but if you've got any details there, I believe that will be a governance proposal. Anyways, I'm going to move on. Yeah, the voting power doesn't change, and you can vote with both types of Oath, and that's how that works. Yeah, okay. I'm going to pop this up on the screen one more time. Please visit that website. It's very dope. And I'm going to move on to Digit. I'm not sure who wants to take this one. I think it'll be a little brief, but Samson, do you have any thoughts? Yeah, Bebis, go for
it. Sure. So Digit has been kind of a long time coming. I know, like, all throughout bear market, we've just been, now is not the time to emit incentives. Now is not the time to do this, do that, whatever. And over that time, in tandem with some of the other stuff we've been working on, the protocol, the front end, everything has been maturing. And I know a lot of you participated in the Digit open beta, and we got a lot of really great feedback there. And we're preparing to, in the next week or two, come to the Optimism market with, it's the Digit you saw during the beta, but it's going to have a lot more functionality. The product is going to be very well refined, and a lot of the efforts we've put into Reaper, getting our DevOps and infrastructure scaled, are going to kind of float upstream into Digit. And we're going to be designing a lot of unique ways to incentivize positions within our ecosystem through Digit. And I'm going to be doing a lot of writing about them because some of the stuff is a little complicated. And, things like the introduction of option tokens, the introduction of real yield, the introduction of the bonded oath vault will probably be helping out Granary and potentially even some other teams with incentives through Digit. And then, creating incentivized LPs through Bunny is another really big thing that we'll see on there. Either Bunny or Gamma. Which did we end up choosing, Samson? Or
We're
is
going to
it
do both because then
both?
there is an automatic option, or you can also pick a range and get specific.
Beast. Yeah, but a cool thing about Digit and the way we've designed it is every Digit position always has its own yield. So we'll be focused on incentivizing interest-bearing positions such that we don't need to be emitting a ton of tokens. And I think that's where things get really important is Digit will serve as not only a really flexible, scalable incentive management solution, but it'll do it naturally and it will aggregate and add cool UX elements to every single important element of our ecosystem. So it's not like, you think about Earn or you think about Oath, and then you need to run around to Beethoven, run around to Ethos.finance, run around to Velodrome or Uniswap Bunny. You can get everything right on Digit.xyz with, a little bonus, a better UX. So, we're really focused on making sure everything is one click where possible. I know some of the Uni V3 positions are tough to create zappers for. And then, you'll get the added benefit of notifications, Apple Wallet integration for your relics, and other cool features like that, as well as enhanced analytics overall. So really, not only does it provide us as administrators and protocol managers with a bunch of really awesome tools for incentivization, but it also gives you a bunch of really great portfolio tools. And we'll be expanding that functionality over time. And I think all of us are really going to learn to love Digit.xyz. So expect that very soon. And yeah, we're excited to finally be shifting a lot of our efforts higher up in the stack now that Reaper is getting to a solid point in its development life cycle. Oh, and there we go, tokenomics, huh?
Yeah.
I guess I'll take no pause here and go right into tokenomics. I'll leave a lot of this for my article because there's going to be a lot of kind of pretty big announcements relating to how we're going to be managing tokens and the Oath ecosystem. I know I mentioned I would push it out this week, but with the migration and me wanting cool graphics, it's going to have to wait a little bit. But basically, the biggest problem that we're fighting right now is fragmentation, and that's fragmentation of liquidity, of capital, of users across all these different ecosystems. So, we're trying to take this oath token, think of it like maybe a ball, and we're trying to balance like huge cities on top of it. And the result is, overall, I think a lot less than it could be. So, the first step that we're going to see this upcoming week, probably even today and tomorrow to a certain extent, is we're going to see the movement of liquidity and product focus for Oath onto Optimism. And we'll continue to harden and condense all of our DeFi solutions on Optimism. We're going to see massive liquidity improvements for the Oath token on Optimism. And basically, if you want the Oath token or you want to sell some Oath tokens, the only place to do it is going to be on Optimism, at least in any size, appreciable size. So that's number one. So kind of defragging the system here, getting people clued in on OP. And we see Optimism as being kind of at the center of what will eventually be, and it is already becoming, a really massive ecosystem. So we see it being a great place for Oath. And then on the other side of that, I mentioned earlier in the call, things like real yield, things like option tokens, creating ways to enhance the liquidity and the viability of the Oath token overall are something. I mean, we're more than considering it. We're in the process of implementing a lot of these solutions. And I think, in surveying the market landscape, in surveying all the trends and in doing like competitive analyses, we found that, a lot of successful teams are kind of running a corporate finance type playbook where, the focus of revenue is on growing the core ecosystem or the core asset class, in this example, Oath. So the idea being, okay, we're going to take all of this weight, all of this revenue for Reaper, revenue that we can surface through Digit, through the Ethos underlying assets, and direct most or all of that to real yield for the Oath token. And then, we can rely on OAuth to actually incentivize any individual position. So really, like, if you remember the early Ethos reserve graphics of kind of the tokenomics flywheel, once we got to market, we realized that it was a little rudimentary, and a lot of our competitors all over the place are playing with a lot more leverage in their ecosystems than we are. So we've really kind of hit the books and tried to figure out a way to rely on our strengths to grow the ecosystem, and turn Bonded Oath into a really great thing to just have long term. And anybody who's been staked in Bonded Oath, I'm sure, loves the ERN distributions. It's been really fun to go back to those and always have some ERN ready to go. And we just want to take that experience and level it up for everyone. And then there's one kind of major aspect to our tokenomics that I'm going to leave for the article that I think is probably the highest impact. We're modernizing everything we're doing with Bonded Oath and with our tokenomics, but really, you think about the Oath Foundation, you think about our team being, Byte Masons, and through the bear market, we've been able to build what's pretty much one of the largest, most senior DeFi-focused engineering firms in the space. And while we can't dedicate everyone to Oath all the time because there's just not the financial bandwidth for that, what Oath gives our firm and what Oath gives the ecosystem more broadly is a really, really great tool through governance for addressing market needs. And I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to make you all read the article when it's released. But really, our goal is to make Oath into the token to use and hold if you're really in it for the tech. And we want to give the Oath ecosystem the power to leverage our organization as it pertains to DeFi. And yeah, governance enables this, and I'll give you more details soon. But yeah, I mean, just expect modern tokenomics. Expect everything to be very smooth. I mean, we hope to take it even a step beyond modern. We want to add some innovation here and there, but you look at projects like GMX, you look at projects like Velodrome, and they're just punching a lot harder than we can. But yeah, it's going to be an extremely dope transition. At least me as an oath holder, I'm really excited about it, and I'm sure you all will feel the same way. Hopefully, so expect the details in the article, and then further implementation details and analyses further down the line. If that sounds cool.
Let's go.
And no, we are not going to create a tune fork, Stephen.
Yeah, get out of here. I'm like, we're still not, and that guy created a lasting impression on all of us with his damn protocol. I can't wait for the days when Tomb is only a distant memory. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm really excited to read. I love reading well-written articles, and I'm pretty stoked. Sorry, everyone, we can't give you a awesome, I don't know, a big slide that says Oath is going to be the new ETH, but guess you'll have to wait. Oath chain. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, well, with that, I want to say thank you to everyone who came and everybody who listened in the future. I'm going to give this opportunity to everyone to ask any questions you might have for us while we're still up here, but we have just hit the hour mark, so we're going to be wrapping it up very shortly. Just, if you've got any questions, honestly, if you want to raise your hand, we could bring you on stage, or you can use the event chat as well. I was going to say a quick thing about optimism as you were talking about Oath, but I don't know, like optimism during this bear has really impressed me, and relative to other chains and to sort of their counterparts, transactions have been going up. Liquidity for things like liquid stake tokens have been going up. And I don't know, I've seen optimism just like force their way to growth throughout this bear, which is a really impressive thing to do. And like, projects like Pendle are launching on optimism now. And obviously they have some, they've got some requirements that they look for before they launch on a chain. And the fact that they're doing it now, I don't know, that tells me something. And so anyways, just some optimistic thoughts about optimism, because it's dope. And I'm happy about Oath sort of consolidating there, because I would use it anyways. Pun game strong, indeed. It's too easy in this space.
Yeah, sweet. I'd like to thank everybody for making the time. Once the article is out, I recommend you share it far and wide. Try to get some social proof going. The number one thing we can get really is feedback, because we're all just neckbeards spinning around in our office chairs, working nonstop, and it's always helpful to have a sanity check from the user base, and keep hitting the Discord. I would say one step further, hit the forums. Again, forum.oath.eco, make yourself heard. Talk to the Yearn team there. Talk to the chain analysis team there. And we'll keep setting them up and trying to make you guys as happy as we possibly can.
And knocking them out of the park is what I thought you were going to say.
I thought about saying that, but it didn't make a lot of sense.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Stay tuned for some announcements regarding governance AMAs, ongoing governance AMAs as more proposals roll in. So, thank you again. Thanks, Bebis. Thanks, Samson. And recording will be up shortly. And yeah, I'll talk to y'all soon.
See you later.
Yeah, thanks, gang. Bye-bye.